Hey guys, welcome back to Parkitect. Today is going to be the June Diorama Build Challenge from Coaster, and this month he has given us a water coaster, which is kind of appropriate for summer. And here is our lovely water coaster. It's very simple. It's like one of our smaller maps this month after... Actually, the monorail coaster wasn't actually that big either, but the plan is to do some type of Greek theming for this, so get rid of this. I don't care for this, so this will disappear. Figure out how to cover up this, have some type of design here in the center, and then do something watery over here, but it's very straightforward for this month. So let's just get into the time lapse. Okay, here we go. So I already did some prep work right before I did my recording, so it's just some of the things I was kind of figuring out, but water's going to be where the splashdown is going to be, and then I basically went from there. So this is just pre-planning work, which is always a good thing to do for a build challenge that you want to try. This month has been a lot of good builders are coming in. We got some pretty cool maps being developed. I actually made 2 maps this month, but this video alone is just going to be about this one, which is going to be called the Hydra challenge. So it's more like a Greek themed, which I've done before, but I wanted to kind of mess around with Freedom 2K more, and I wanted to see if I can build myself a Hydra out of shapes, and I get to actually in this episode. It's actually really cool. So Freedom 2K has been like pretty great on how to you can manipulate pieces now. So I really am enjoying how the mod works. It is still finicky in some ways. It clashes with Construction Anarchy a lot sometimes with like raising and lowering items, but that's not necessarily a problem. You just have to change the settings on the Construction Anarchy. You have to change it, just the settings for that. It's not really that difficult, but that's the only gripe this whole month has been. But kind of taking it chill, not doing some like crazy stuff. But I wanted to try some more, I don't know, brighter colors, not necessarily brighter colors, more like a lighter environment, which would be like a Greek Mediterranean type of place. Because the second one I did was more Western again. I've done Western millions of times at this point, but I just wanted to do some Greek mythology type of theming. Because I've also been playing a lot of Age of Mythology lately too, so that just kind of came in there. So some of the things that I wanted to do was to do custom supporting with only pillars from Vanilla Parkitect with the help of Freedom 2K. So most of the supports are made of just regular pillars from the medieval set. So I just was like, okay, let's see what I can do. The only one mod that I used in this one was catwalks, because I really didn't want to make catwalks really detailed, so I just wanted to pull from there easier. It was way easier to do so that's what I did. So right now I'm just figuring out how to do some of the supports and stuff and how wonky some of it are. And sometimes they weren't lining up because I didn't have the horizontal... Was it horizontal or vertical? No, vertical. Vertical settings on Construction Anarchy set to 1. And so items were jumping to 0.05. So not 1. So let me start over. So it's the vertical lift on the Construction Anarchy is 0.05. I have it set to as default. That's the comfortable I like. If you want to go so extreme, you can go 0.01, and having it on 0.05 conflicts with Freedom 2K when you want to do the Gizmo tool. So I would suggest you switch it to 0.01. Then the Gizmo tool will have pieces line up better instead of having these little misalignment with pieces, and I had that difficulty with the supports. But there was such a small misalignment, it really doesn't matter. But if you want to be a perfectionist, I suggest you change that and then do your adjustments with the Gizmo tool, and then you reset it back to your favorite setting that you had it before. So that's kind of the tip there for using these 2 mods together, because I think without Construction Anarchy, I think you'll have even more difficulties with it. They do go together pretty well, so I'm not upset that they conflict with each other, but you have to kind of keep an eye out on those little details and things like that. So right now I'm just figuring out some backstage stuff. I wanted to do this like little backstage area for the not guests, oh my gosh, employees to go into a break room. And I figured out that I'm just going to cover up the depot with a very simple behind the scenes show building. So the show building here is actually a building of another part of the park. Let's say that's a building for another dark ride somewhere else. It's not necessarily for Hydra Challenge. So I just felt like that would make more sense to kind of still think that this is also a slice of a theme park. I've been trying to do that more often with the builds every month. I've been thinking like, okay, these are slices of parks, right? So I need to think, what is the extension of said park, or where it ends and where it starts, and so that's kind of what I did here. Right now, still trying to figure out the support system here with the medieval pillars, and then do some trees and things. I like this map the most because I use the different trees that I usually don't play with. So I played with the black pine, I think it's like an olive tree, but it's not an olive tree. I forgot what it's called. This guy, I've lost my mind, but it's I use some different trees because I'm trying to do a different environment. But right now, here is the building of the Hydra, out of all shapes, and some candy pieces. You'll see some of the candy pieces up later when we get to that point, because the candy pieces were, I think, pretty cool to use. And some of you will be like, wow, you use that piece? Why? I'm like, yes, I use that piece because it gets me what I want. And building a Hydra, yeah, this was one of those fun moments. So I think the Hydra took about 2 hours to construct from the bottom to the top. This is the second attempt of me building a Hydra. I built a Hydra a while ago, and you probably saw on the Reddit, or I posted on Twitter. Or I even posted on the YouTube the community section. I was just testing out Freedom 2K when I got my hands on it, and I say that this Hydra is at least 10 times better than the first Hydra, because I did some more detailing, and I copied more of the Hydra from the animated movie Hercules. Because the only other piece of... It's not actually. There's multiple pieces of media that have Hydras, but mostly they resemble them as dragons, and I didn't want to make it like a dragon. I feel like a Hydra should be more of a serpent type of creature and not very dragon-like, so I kind of went for that same... I went for the Hercules version from Disney Hydra. I like it the best because it's purple, it's a different color, and it doesn't look like a dragon. And that's, I think, is weird when you have a Hydra and a dragon. They're basically the same creature, and I really think they should be a separate look. They should be completely something different. So here was some of the harder parts, was doing like some of the borders for the back of its like it's like scales. These little thorned edges on the back to the tail to the 3 heads. That took a while. That took basically a long time of my hour. Here's some burial grounds to add some more like blemish on the back. Those burial grounds are really neat when you can rotate them, but they are invisible on the bottom, so you do have to keep aware of that. And then I used... Let's see what else we are using. I'm just trying to go through the pieces here and trying to figure out what I can add to it. Some of the like art style I go for, because I had this statue of this Hydra has to somewhat match the game of Parkitect, and I'm going to try to do as little texturing as possible. So that's why I do like little what's they like orbs and spheres on the skin of the dragon. Not dragon. Oh my gosh, Hydra. And it just adds some texture to it, but not too much. I want to still simplify it and not make it too crazy. That's the same thing what I'm trying to do with my Minecraft scenario I'm working on. It's kind of like a stylized Minecraft. It's not supposed to be that realistic. Because when you do realistic in Parkitect, it kind of pulls away from the game's like cuteness to it, because then you have these guests walking around and they're pretty like cartoony. So before I forget, here comes some of the cool piece usage I did. I did a gumdrop, 2 of them, rotated on their sides, and made these eyeballs for the Hydra. And I like that they had texture on it, because it gave the Hydra somewhat more of a menacing look. It kind of matched the graininess that I wanted for that Hydra's eyes. So I did that. His nostrils are tires, and then everything else should be shapes at different angles. It's so weird to seeing Freedom 2K in work because it's just completely changes the way this game runs now on how you actually look at pieces. I've always wanted to rotate pieces. Just now I look at a piece, I'm like, what does it look like upside down now? And I rotate it, and I'm like, ooh, that looks interesting upside down. Let's try it. And I go from there. The dragon's mouth that extends down is actually a curved wall, and then a half hemisphere at the bottom to complete its jaw. And there is the gaping mouth of a Hydra. I like that it looks cartoony, like the cartoon. Kind of matches everything. And then a border to kind of finish it off, to kind of match that. The color of the lip, yeah, the lip. And then add some more hemispheres to add some more, I don't know, muscle or more thickness to the jaw, because I felt like it would be too flat. And then I add these little, like these, I don't know, they're like hairs at the bottom of his jaw, or some type of like fin. The eyes, like the eyes are borders, I think, yes. And then now I need to figure out teeth. Teeth, I think I just did regular pyramid pieces, because it was actually easier to do that than, let's say, I don't know, a candy piece. But some of the candy pieces are too big, or they have that happy face on it, so it's kind of really hard to use them. So I kind of skip around and not use those as much. I want to use them more, but they're just very constricting. If you understand, like they're very one-time use type of thing. So I want to try using those more often, but not in this build, because this build's more mythology and a little bit more grounded in reality versus something that I would build, I don't know, fantasy or sci-fi. See, I think the heart pieces would probably be good for sci-fi if you want to do corners or something. Yeah, I think that would be actually neat if I did another sci-fi build or something. So as we jump forward, the Hydra head's pretty complete. You need to do these like antennas on the back of its head. I did the rest of the Hydra's back with the Adventure curved wall, because they have texture on them. And I like that. I like some textures in my build, not always a flat color. So I think a flat color kind of blends into itself. Yeah, like when you're building something like roofs or a building or a rocky environment, I think it's best to break up your colors with similar colors of that same tone and like change the tone of it. So if it's tan, you have 3 different tan tones to kind of break up the simpleness of it, or it kind of just bleeds and just kind of not as pretty to look at. It's just not pretty to look at. It just needs to be more cut up. I don't know what the words would be to call it more toned down. Yeah, maybe toned down is the word. Not really sure. Now here is one of the. This is going to be a restaurant or a snack bar. It's more like a snack bar. So this is just going to be a very basic Greek style building. Not going to go too crazy with it. I'm going to do custom tiles though, so maybe that is crazy if you don't have time to do custom tiles like I do. But I went and did that. Just kind of did the pre-planning of the roof, and then finished up the wall corners and some of the pillars. So I'm using mostly shapes to get the pillar style. I did a depot back here. I'm going to make that depot back there actually a flat roof to put an AC unit, because I want to add some realism. Not a lot, just a couple, because it is a theme park. So I want to just kind of keep that going. That type of theme. Just the backstage stuff is, I think, a pretty neat idea. Before we get on to more things, the second build that I worked on, you can view most of the build on some live streams that I did last week. And upcoming things I want to try to do this summer is to try to stream Parkitect on Fridays. Hopefully, maybe 9 or 10 o'clock my time in the morning. I want to do that, but there's no promises, but I do want to try to stream every Friday. So whenever this video comes out, I might be already streaming. I might not. I don't know when this video comes out. It probably is going to come out the weekend. Not sure, but I'm sitting here recording this on a Thursday. So yeah. So right now I'm gonna do some tile work for the roofing. This is always a signature thing for me to do, is just do custom roofing, even though I don't need to, because the other roof that is really good for tiles roofing that you don't have to do the custom is the Adventure building set from the pyramids. They're the best ones to use for a quick tile roofing if you really didn't need to do it by hand. I did a lot of that technique actually in American Adventure, and it actually works really well. I didn't invent that technique. I found it on, I think it was Timber Creek, so that would be from Silverette, because he made that technique first. And it's a brilliant technique to use a adventure type of tile, I don't know, brickwork that looks like tile roofing. It works really well. But I wanted to make my roofs still a little bit more terracotta looking or clay looking, so off I went with doing the actual custom roofing. I think the custom roofing took about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes to complete this roof alone. But once you get it down, you can just blueprint it, and then you're just Gucci. You're good to go, and then you just go from there. So, and then varying up the colors, making them stained, makes them it look more weathered. Because this game has this clean look to it, and the hardest thing to do in this game, to be honest, is doing like destroyed and ruined places. It's super hard to do because you don't have this. I wish we had this like gradient or something to add to colors to give them that, going from a bright color to a dull color or something to add some like weatheredness to it, because weathering in Parkitect it's difficult. And I want to try to do some like pretty extreme themes like Fallout. If I did a Fallout apocalypse map, like either a scenario or a part of a theme park, that would be a lot of pieces to kind of suggest it's like weathered and old and at least 200 years old, right? It has to look old. So I'm kind of trying to do that here in this build, but it's not as decrepit and old. It's just not, it's still pretty together. I do build a foot of a statue. That will be later in the water after I figure out some other detailings and stuff, but it's just repeating the same building techniques that I did for the little restaurant and just went from there. Oh yeah, I was going to try to do tiles with these squares, but that didn't happen. That just wasn't going to happen. I just feel like those would be too many pieces. I mean, the map already has a lot of pieces in it regardless. I need to go get that mod that counts piece count. It's from Zemu. I need to go grab it. I don't think it's on his website right now because it was down the other day and then it's back up again, but I need to ask somebody if I can grab it. Probably Dan. I think Dan has it. Oh no, Coasterby has it. So I might have to ask him. So I might ask him in a little bit. But it will tell me how many pieces I have in this map. It would be cool to actually count up the American Adventure one, because that one's, ooh, that's a lot of pieces, and that's not even done yet. I still have a water park to build on that one, and finish up details inside the park, which should be almost done, because that'll be the next episode after this one. So here's all the tile pieces again for the roof, just blueprinting it. Blueprinting saves a lot of my time. It makes it easier. I don't have to go insane trying to do every single tile piece myself. I think these cylinders are 0.10 or 0.15. They might be 0.15 because that looks like a grade 8. Yeah, that looks like grade 8. I can't really tell. Yeah, it looks like grade 8. Yeah, it's 0.13. That's the best size actually. You don't want to go any smaller. It just looks even more too much pieces at that point, because I am trying to still consider that somebody who has on a potato computer can still at least load into the map. I have no idea what Coasterby gets when he loads into a map. That's just a thought. Like, okay, how do you get in? Like, if you got into, I know that Mr. Unit does his maps like crazy. So does Robo. Robo does all these effects and stuff. It's like, how many FPS do you get? 3, 2. I mean, how many FPS do you get on my maps? That's what I want to know, because I still put a lot of stuff into it. Trees, rocks, shapes, more shapes. I mean, ton of shapes. Just my thing, shapes. So I'm finishing up the tops of the station, And then I felt like I needed to add at least some type of flat ride. I was going to try to do a curved thing here, but I gave up on it, so I just kind of made a very simple, generic docks basically around the top scan, because I felt like it was very empty and weird in this area, so this was kind of like me winging it at this point. It still looks nice in the area, but if I actually maybe spent a little bit more time on it, maybe it would have gotten better. But I don't mind where it sits, because I'm also trying to make it realistic where the top scan's not too close to the ride or too close to the building, so that's also in consideration. And the hitboxes for that ride is actually quite large. I think it's bigger than the 5x5 it sits on. Or is that a 4x4? It's a 4x4. Yeah, it's actually bigger than that. I think it's a 5x5 is the hitbox, or something like toward the back. But regardless, it's just a very generic flat ride, because I think a flat ride is good to have near a coaster, have some interaction with it. It's like your supporting ride, because there's no land that, well, maybe a kiddie land will only be flat rides, but there's no like serious land that has a flat ride as their centerpiece. That's kind of silly. I think a coaster should be your centerpiece, and then it goes from there. So right now I did some catwalks earlier. I just gotta skip that time lapse because that's boring to watch. So at this point the map's basically getting close to being done. There's some last detail stuff. Oh, that's the fig tree. I just remembered the tree. Oh my gosh. I talked about the trees a while ago. So I used fig tree, cypress, black pine. Yeah, that's all the trees I used, right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't use those trees often, and I did this time. And the fig tree really works well for a Mediterranean area. So does the cypress. So I'm glad I used some of those trees to add some different texture to the map. And everything's a lighter green, and it goes well with the tan landscape that I picked toward the water. And then it's dark and black rocks near the Hydra, because that's where it lives, or that's the ravine. This map went through a whole bunch of name changes. It was ridiculous. It was either called Hydra Ravine, and then it turned into, I think, Hydra Ridge, or Hydra Cliffs or something. And then I just buckled down and went, okay, Hydra Challenge. It just makes more sense because it's for Hercules or something. So that's kind of what it went to, Hydra Challenge. So right now I'm building a foot. That's supposed to be a statue of some sort, so it's going to be ruined, so it's going to be missing most of it. So I just kind of felt like this would make more sense to put it near the water, and suggest that the other part of the statue kind of fell into the water and just disappeared. And so, yeah, I just kind of built a very simple looking foot. I think the foot's cool, because I'm always thinking about adding POIs to all my builds. There has to be enough of things to kind of sit there and look at, because I don't want you just jumping into my map and just spending 20 minutes and be like, okay, cool, I'm out. And then I want to hide a whole bunch of things in this map and things like that. Did I not put that? Did I put in that Easter egg? I think I hit something in the map. I can't remember. So if you find the map and look at it, you might find something I hid somewhere. I don't remember if I did. I did it on the western one, but yeah, I don't remember. So here comes toward the end. This is going to be the Hydra sign, Hydra challenge. Going to be very quick about it. So it's going to try to make some Hydra heads. That didn't work out. So I decided just to do a very simple Hydra head on top. So I kind of just copied the one that's basically the giant Hydra, and then go from there. Yeah, so the smaller versions of the gumdrops, and then nostrils for the, the tires? Yeah, tires. To try to make it look angry. Such detailing just for a sign, I don't know. That's how I roll. It's kind of very simple. I think it works. It's not the best sign, but I felt like if I walked away from this map and not did a sign, it felt like the map wouldn't be as together or complete in that way. So I kind of just built a very quick Hydra, and with I think a sticking out tongue. Yep, that looks good. So this is Hydra challenge so far. I'm gonna leave you, and then we're gonna go over to the final view of Hydra challenge. Okay, here we are in Hydra Challenge. So I'm going to show you some of the close-up details that I worked on, and I really did enjoy building this map, even though it only took me, I don't know, 3 days, maybe 4 at tops. I mean, with the second map only took 5 days because they did like 4-hour streams each or something like that. So let's just, I don't know, just look at close up into some of the details and some of the things that I found interesting for this build and things I found challenging. The easiest thing was to do was this stuff here. The most interesting thing I think is the Hydra. I just think it looks just really spot on to the not dragon. Oh my gosh, I've done this twice now. It's not dragon. It's a Hydra. Hydras are not dragons. Dragons have wings. Well, that's not true because Chinese dragons don't have wings. But regardless, I think it's not a dragon. So even though, okay, it's not a dragon. So moving on. Oh my gosh. So I think it looks really good. Just it alone is, I think, the biggest. I think it's the biggest creature I've built in this game. So I think it looks pretty gnarly. And then coupled with the coaster kind of going around it, kind of interacting with it, I think is the best thing about it. Here's the restaurant, and then here's the Hydra Challenge station. And then over here is the backstage thing that I made. So chocolate bars for walkways, the AC units, and then some supports. And there it is. There's the hidden Easter egg. So I'm going to start plopping these things in my maps. So this one's not as hidden, but it's okay. I hid this one in my second map pretty good. If you watch the stream, you'll find out where it is, but if you don't want to spoil it, go find out yourself. It's a little thing I'm trying to do. I don't know if it says Astro watching, but hey, it's just hidden away. And then let's see here. There's the foot over here, and then I did some coral reef stuff with mushrooms and vines to kind of give it that ocean looks. Like the ocean did feel empty, and I think Sandy, my friend, suggested I should fill in the waters, and she's right. And so I did. So this is Hydra Challenge. It is now on the workshop. It is going to be judged in the next Diorama Challenge, so go check that out when that drops, because that's probably dropping toward the end of the month. But yeah, I'm going to leave you guys here, and I'm probably going to continue working on American Adventure, and then do the streams every Friday. And also, I would like to also thank my Patreons for supporting me. If you want to join me as a Patreon, you can. I think the link will be in the description. It is, I think, $3 a month. And I'm going to try to focus on Patreon. Maybe not. I got a lot of things working on right now. I also enabled memberships on the YouTube channel. So if you want to support me there instead of through Patreon, you can. Because I'm trying to also add some, like, emojis and or badges that represent my channel, so you guys can go check that out if you want to. But thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.